As I stood in front of the small, two-story house that I'd called home for the last 7 years, I could feel a nagging sensation at the back of my mind, like a melody you can't quite place but swear you've heard before. The autumn leaves rustled in the brisk afternoon breeze, a silent witness to the unsettling thoughts swirling in my head. My wife, Elena, had been working late for the past 3 months, her excuses as thin as the worn tire tread on her aging sedan. Big project, tight deadlines, demanding boss, she would repeat like a mantra, barely looking at me as she reheated her dinner, the microwave light casting ghostly shadows across our kitchen. Maybe she really is just busy, I would tell myself, trying to shake the doubt. But today was different. Today, I'd come home early from work due to a power outage at the office, and as I turned onto our street, there it was, Elena's car, parked not in our driveway, but 2 doors down, in front of our neighbor's house. Tom, our neighbor, was a chiropractor known in our small community for his generous smile and open-door policy. His wife had left him some time ago, the rumor mill whispered of infidelity, but Tom never spoke of it, burying his past under a veneer of cheerful neighborhood barbecues and holiday decorations. With my heart hammering in my chest, I approached his house. The curtains were drawn, but a sliver of a gap revealed a slice of the living room. I pressed my face against the cool glass, the world narrowing to the tunnel of my vision. There, in the dim light of the room, I saw them. Elena lay on the couch, her clothes forming a crumpled confession on the floor. Tom, his back to the window, moved with a familiarity that turned my stomach. The room was silent but for the muffled sounds of their betrayal. The sight was a physical blow, and I staggered back, my breath ragged tears in the quiet street. Anger surged, hot and wild, a tempest threatening to sweep me away. But then, a cold, calculating calm settled over me. Revenge, a dark whisper urging me on. I walked back to our house, each step a hammer strike to the foundation of the life we had built. I entered the quiet of our living room, the air heavy with the ghosts of 1,000 mundane moments. I sat there, waiting, the tick of the clock in the hall marking the time until Elena would come home, her lies ready on her lips. The door finally opened, and she stepped in, her face tired, her smile forced. "Hey, love," she called out, her voice a melody of normalcy. But the symphony was over, and I was no longer her audience. "We need to talk, Elena," I said, my voice steady, my decision irrevocable. "It's about us, and Tom." Her face paled, the facade cracking. I watched her closely, each flicker of her eyes a note in the symphony of her deception. As she began to speak, her excuses as flimsy as before, I knew this was just the beginning. The plot of my revenge was only just unfolding. The silence in our living room stretches, taut as a wire, as Elena stands by the door, her coat still on, her bag clutched tightly to her side. Her eyes, wide and fearful, dart between the door and me. "Tom," she whispers, the word a betrayal in itself. "How did you save it, Elena?" "I saw you at his house." "Together," I say, my voice cold, controlled. I watch her closely, noting the collapse of her posture, the surrender in her eyes. Tears start to fill her eyes, but I feel no sympathy. "I'm sorry, I never meant for you to find out this way," she murmurs. "This way?" I laugh bitterly. "Is there a right way to learn your wife is cheating on you?" Before she can respond, there's a knock at the door. Surprised, I stride over and open it to find Jess, Tom's sister, standing on the porch. Jess has always been kind to us, her presence at our door now adding to the surreal quality of the evening. "Hey, I heard some yelling. Is everything okay?" Jess asks, peering behind me with a concerned look. "Not really, Jess." "Come in, please," I say, stepping aside. Jess's entrance seems to make Elena shrink further into herself, her secret now public. Jess eyes Elena with a mixture of surprise and disappointment. "Elena, what's going on?" Taking a deep breath, I fill Jess in, my words sparse and blunt. Jess listens, her expression darkening with each word. When I finish, she shakes her head, her lips pressed into a thin line. "I had no idea Tom was involved with anyone," she murmurs, her voice low. I can't believe he'd do this again. Again? I seize on the word, my interest piqued. Jess nods, hesitating. After his wife left him, he swore off any relationships close to home. I thought he'd changed. The room falls silent again, the weight of betrayal hanging heavy. Jess's presence, her shared betrayal, forms an unexpected bond between us. What will you do now? She asks, her gaze steady on me. I plan to divorce Elena. As for Tom, I pause, the plan forming more concretely in my mind. I want him to face some consequences. I don't condone what he's done, but he's still my brother. I'll talk to him. Maybe he can still sort this out without more hurt. More hurt? Elena finally speaks up, her voice shaky. What about the hurt he caused me? Her attempt to deflect the blame is met with a hard stare from Jess. Elena, you're not the victim here, Jess says sharply. You made your choices. And you, she turns to me, her eyes softening, I'm really sorry this happened to you. As Jess leaves, promising to confront her brother, I turn to Elena. We will discuss the logistics of our separation tomorrow. For tonight, I think it's best you stay elsewhere. Elena nods, her defeat palpable as she collects her things and leaves. Alone, the gravity of the day's revelation settles around me like dust after a storm. But amidst the ruins, a plan begins to take shape, a way to ensure that the betrayal they thought they could hide becomes the instrument of their undoing. The night grows deeper, and I sit, waiting, plotting. The morning sun casts a mocking glow over the quiet street as I sit on the porch, a cup of coffee untouched beside me. The events of last night play over in my mind like a dark comedy, each revelation more absurd than the last. My phone buzzes, a message from Jess lighting up the screen. Talk to Tom. He's a mess, but wants to meet. Today. Park by the river, 3 p.m.? I reply with a curt yes, the gears of my plan clicking into place. If Tom thinks he can smooth things over with a simple apology, he's gravely mistaken. At 3 p.m., the park is dappled with sunlight filtering through the autumn leaves. I spot Tom sitting at a bench by the river, his posture defeated. As I approach, he doesn't look up, his gaze fixed on the slow-moving water. Tom, I say, my tone neutral. He starts, looking up at me with eyes red-rimmed and weary. I'm sorry, man. I never meant to hurt anyone, he stammers, the words rushed and rehearsed. Cut the crap, Tom. You knew she was my wife. What were you thinking? My voice is low, controlled, each word sharp as a knife. Tom sighs, running a hand through his hair. It wasn't planned. It just happened. I know that's no excuse. I'm really sorry. Sorry doesn't fix this, Tom. What about Jess? She's caught in this mess too because of you. Tom winces, the mention of his sister twisting the knife deeper. I know. I've screwed up everything. Look, what do you want from me? I'll do anything to make this right. Anything? I echo, an idea forming in my mind. All right. I want you to help me expose something bigger, something that will make our little drama here seem trivial. Tom frowns, confusion etched across his face. What are you talking about? I lean in, my voice a conspiratorial whisper. I've had my suspicions for a while now about some irregularities at the company where Elena and I work. Financial irregularities. I think someone's embezzling money, and I believe Elena might be involved. Tom's eyes widen, his earlier resignation replaced by intrigue. You think Elena's involved in something like that? I'm not sure, but I need someone on the inside to help me find out. You're a chiropractor, you know how to get people to relax, talk. You have connections that could be useful. Tom hesitates, the weight of the proposition clear on his face. You want me to spy on people for you? To help you bring down whoever's behind this? Yes, I affirm, my plan clearer now than ever. Help me expose this, and I'll consider us even. You help clean up the mess you made. After a long pause, Tom nods slowly. Okay, I'll do it. It's the least I can do after everything. As we part ways, the pieces of my plan slot together with a satisfying click. Not only will I divorce Elena and cut Tom out of my life, but I'll also unravel a scandal that could rock our community to its core. As I walk away, a cold smile plays on my lips. This is only the beginning. The chill of early evening settles over the city as I make my way to the office, a building that now seems more a battleground than a workplace. Over the past weeks, Tom's clandestine investigations have unearthed more than I dared hope. Today, we confront the core of the corruption, the day of reckoning for Elena and her cohorts. I meet Tom in the shadowed lobby, his face grim. "Got everything?" I ask. He nods, holding up his phone. "Recorded everything. You were right, it's bigger than we thought. You need to hear this, though," he says, his voice tense. We find a quiet corner, and he plays the recording. Elena's voice fills the air, her words chilling. "I've been funneling money out for years. No one suspects the quiet ones, right? And with Tom's help, I can cover it up longer." My heart stutters, the depth of her deceit slicing through the last vestiges of my denial. "She used you," I say to Tom, the reality of his unwitting role in her scheme dawning on me. Tom shakes his head, anger and regret mingling on his face. "I didn't know. I swear I didn't know about the money." "I believe you," I reply, clapping him on the shoulder, my resolve hardening. "Let's end this." Together, we ascend to the executive floor, where a late meeting is in session, the key players all present. As we burst into the conference room, the conversations stutter and halt, all eyes on us. "Elena," I start, my voice carrying across the room, "care to explain this?" I gesture to Tom, who holds up his phone, playing her confession for all to hear. The room erupts into chaos, voices raised in shock and outrage. Elena stands up, her face pale, her eyes darting towards the exits. But it's too late for escape. "Save your breath," I say as she opens her mouth, likely to spin another web of lies. "We've heard enough from you." Security enters at my signal, their presence a clear sign of the seriousness of the situation. They move to escort Elena and her closest associates out, their hands restrained with cuffs as the evidence of their fraud is too damning to ignore. As the room clears, leaving only a few bewildered employees, I turn to Tom. "Thank you," I say, sincerity coloring my tone. "You didn't just help me, you helped save a lot of innocent people from getting hurt." Tom nods, a sad smile on his lips. "I just wish I knew sooner." With the betrayers removed, the weight of the ordeal begins to lift, but the scars remain. I watch as Elena casts one last look my way, her eyes filled with something like regret or perhaps just the loss of her control. Either way, I turn away, letting her fade from my life, a painful chapter closed forever. Outside, the city lights blink against the night sky, indifferent to the drama unfolding beneath them. Tom and I part ways at the building's entrance, our alliance forged in adversity but unlikely to continue beyond tonight's revelations. As he disappears into the dark, I realize that while justice feels satisfying, it does little to mend the ache of betrayal. The final echoes of Elena's deception linger as I walk alone, the streets empty and silent. But ahead, the path clears, open and unwritten, the promise of a new beginning tinged with the hard-earned wisdom of the past. The game of deceit has ended, and with it, my ties to those who played it. As the city envelops me, I step forward, free from the shadows of suspicion and betrayal, ready to rebuild in the light of truth.